Welcome to the Success Pick and Mix podcast. I'm your host, Nicky Raby, a professional pick and mixer. I'm a personal brand coach, a speaker, an actor, a creator, and a podcaster. I'm on a mission to help you find and create your version of success. Your pick and mix of life and business on your terms. A blend that complements your personality, your goals, and your circumstances. Since 2018, I've been sharing interviews and mini episodes to help you unlock your next step, to make it real and make it happen. Round here, we dream big. We go for the ideal version. We talk about money and make moves our future selves would be proud of. This podcast is free and available for you whenever you need it. So do rate, review, and subscribe for new episodes. If you want to go deeper with my support, check out my freebies house and unlock the rooms you choose. nickyraby.com/freebies house. I also have workshops, programs, and one-on-one bespoke offerings. For prices and availability, go to nickyraby.com. Thank you, as always, for spending some time with me and my guests. Now, on to today's episode. In today's episode, I'm talking to Tahira, who is a makeup artist. She works in the beauty industry and has done for many years, but also has carved out this lovely niche for herself in working with green beauty that really aligns with her own personal values as well. She has the most wonderful Instagram stories where she shares products and tips and how to maintain your skin and be the best that you can be and look the best and all of that good stuff. So go and check her out over there. As always, all of the links are in the show notes and underneath the episode. Also, I wanted to talk to her about freelance life, how you pitch, how you put yourself out there, how you go for opportunities, even though you might feel like you're not ready or you're not quite there yet, but being bold, being confident, and basically faking it until you make it. As always, please come over to Instagram at Nicky Raby or to the show notes, nickyraby.com/podcast. And if you're enjoying the episode, I would love it if you rate, review, subscribe over on iTunes, because it helps more people out there to come and find these lovely episodes. Here it is. I hope you enjoy, and I look forward to hearing your thoughts. Tahira, welcome to the podcast, take two.
Hi, thank you for having me, and technical errors go away.
Oh, exactly. And I think this is good for you guys to know that, yeah, we're in like episode 70 now, but sometimes technology is just not your friend. Let's start with you. What do you do? What's your job?
So my job is probably quite multifaceted. I'm a makeup artist by training and by trade. I have been a makeup and hair designer for film and television. I now work more photo shoots and kind of commercial and advertising and campaigns and on individuals. But my focus now, and certainly for the last 5 years, has been I'm going to now call it conscious beauty, because green beauty and clean beauty are all getting a bit slurried and marred. So basically, my focus is beauty and makeup that is done in a more conscientious way for the sort of planet and the people and the animals and the plants and all of that stuff.
Oh, yeah, fantastic. And it's certainly something that I've been looking into, because I guess certainly we have seen that wave of being much more conscious about what's going into our bodies and on our skin and all of these things. But yeah, I'm sure we'll get into that later. How did it start for you of training in this industry?
So some might argue, my parents probably, that I've been doing it since I was 3. I mean, I've got some pictures where I've got literally pictures of me holding, I think, my godmother's makeup kit and putting it on myself and putting it on her and my mum. It literally, I have wanted to do this since I was 9, and I didn't realize, I spent my 20s trying to figure out what I wanted to do, all the while doing it. I took a makeup course at night while I was studying in university, a couple days a week. And then moved into salons, and then so got trained in salons as a hairdresser as well, so could do hair as well. But makeup was always my primary focus. And then kind of from there, landed on a film set one day due to things that were happening, and then ended up in film for about 12 to 15 years.
Wow. And has that changed since you've had your son? Has kind of the kind of work that you do or that you're interested in, how did that change when you became a mum?
So it changed drastically. Now, in fairness, I kind of started my career in film and on set when I was about 21, 22. And I still worked in the salon. Like, I've always done a lot of different things at the same time. And the one thing that anybody who works in the film or television industry will tell you is that it takes away a lot of your life. You know, there's many, many long hours.
And it always drives me mad when actors complain, like when I'm, an actor on set and people are like, oh, the hours are so long. But it's the makeup and the hair that are there first, always.
Well, and then there's the facilities guys and the transport guys who got all our stuff there in the first place, who are even before us, I mean, it's just long. It can be long days, and I agree, it's not always, backbreaking work, but it is long. And so having I was already a bit fatigued of it. I had traveled a lot. I was very lucky. I've had a lovely career, and I traveled a lot. And by the time I was, getting married and even before I was pregnant, it was already starting to lose its luster. But once I became pregnant, it was a bit the sort of the signal that it was time to sort of maybe make a change. And not to say, I still go back and I still do days on films, mainly with friends and stuff. And I now can thoroughly enjoy it, because for me at the moment, it's only several days at a time. It's never a 2, 3, 4 month run. Been there, done that, bought the t-shirt. So yeah, that's happening.
That's great. And how do you navigate freelance life? Because it's kind of now painted as like the thing that people should do, and it's exciting and flexibility and all that sort of stuff. But it does come with some pitfalls sometimes as well. How's that sort of journey been for you, and how have you built this really successful career?
Well, one, I appreciate you calling my career successful, because I think sitting on the inside of it on some quiet days, you just go,
yeah. Well, also the fact that you're still here, you're still doing it. And I feel like that, I think so many people give up. Sometimes I look around when I go for auditions and I'm like, there's nobody here. They've all retrained or done something else.
Well, there's a couple of things. One, freelance life is not for the faint-hearted. I've been a freelancer for 20 years of my life. And it still takes a lot of juggling, getting used to it. Certainly takes a lot of juggling in terms of childcare. There's the just physical logistics of who is going to be where at what time, and where does everybody need to be on this day at that time, and how do we get everybody there, and making sure everybody's fed and clothed, and your household is helped and taken care of, and then that those costs are covered. So that's one aspect to it. And it's also, the freelance life has ebbs and flows. You're only as good as your last job, but you could have been amazing on your last job, and maybe other people changed, and now those other people are hiring someone else, and they're just not hiring you anymore. It's tough, especially if you're a creative freelancer. I feel like if you were a freelance accountant, it might be a little bit different, because you're like, the numbers are the numbers. Whereas when you're an artist in any form, or creative in any form, that day that they don't call you can be like the knife that takes your guts and throws them on the floor.
And makeup is so intimate as well. I've sat in many makeup chairs where within 7 minutes, like, you've gone through your life history, because there's just something about touching somebody's face and being that close and intimate that you have to sort of, it's personal, it's emotional.
Yeah. I mean, I think I always say this to like sort of my students or young makeup artists. There's a lot that you can learn technically, but your attitude, you kind of have to have it, or you have to hone it. You have to learn it. There has to be, there's a way of invisibility that you have to have, sort of let your presence not be invasive, let yourself be kind of molding to your client, because it is very intimate. But on the other hand, as your career goes on, you have to have the strength and the presence of character to stand up for what you think is right or what you believe in, or make your views known, or make your vision clearly expressed so people can understand what you're trying to achieve. And that's a whole other skill set that you kind of, as you move through your career, you develop.
Yeah, I really find that as an actor as well, that sometimes when you're on set, it is that sort of sense of like, oh my goodness, I can't believe that I'm here, that actually that thing that I dreamed up in my head has actually come to reality. But it's always, yeah, you start to learn that confidence of when to speak up, or how to kind of deal with people. And you have to have those sort of skills of being instantly sort of familiar with people, I guess, because you're part of a team and a creative vision.
Well, I think for what I do, one of the big skills you need to have is being able to read the temperature of the room, and you learn to assess people's personalities or the mood that they're in very, very quickly. And you have to be able to speak to a person hiring you, a producer or a creative director who maybe has either a strong vision that you need to follow or a weak vision that you need to guide. But you have to figure that out very quickly. You know, as you go, you'll find your teams, you'll find the people that you work better with. And some days are going to be awesome, and some days are kind of not going to go so well. And you may have your own stuff that's going on in your life that has to be left at the door, which is not fair. There's a lot of fluidity and flexibility where I feel like people who work in a more constant environment where they're working maybe with the same people, even if it's only a couple days a week or whatever, there's a certain, you know what to expect. You kind of, it's a little easier, I find, than, you know, you do get that on a film set or a TV set when you're on it full time. However, you know, you get that full time feeling, that team, that family where you know where everybody stands. But yeah, the freelance life, just going back to it, the freelance life is tough, but it's wonderful, and it does allow us a certain amount of flexibility. It allows, you know, it's allowed me to have 2 weeks off this week in the middle of September for no other reason than I needed to sort of settle my son into his first weeks of school. So, you know, that's a plus, it's a bonus, that's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, definitely. How has your career sort of developed in terms of, has it been something that you consciously done of sort of saying, right, well, actually, I know lots about this, so now I'm available to speak, or how was that an organic process?
I think yes and no. I mean, there's earlier on in my career, there was a very stumbling element to it. I literally kept stumbling into things. And I think I'm a ambitious person in a lazy person's body. So I was like, oh, look, here's an opportunity. I'm going to try and do really well at it. Run, scrabble, strive. Ooh, okay, tired now. Oh, look, here's another opportunity. Scrabble. And it wasn't necessarily at the driver's seat. You know what I mean? Yeah. Whereas I would say that more, I'd say back in the last 8-9 years, certainly since I moved to this country, or in the short 2 years, I've been here about 12 years, probably about 10 years, I have tried to be a bit more in the driver's seat. And then certainly since my son, I have to make very clear decisions. And it's a bit of an evolving, it's not, I'm not there yet. It's a blob mass of ambition or desire or wanting to create a certain set of stuff. But getting there. And yes, some of it's organic. A couple of years ago, I was at a event where Anna from Mother Pucka, we were chatting, and she's like, well, you're a really good communicator. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go with that. And Instagram stories had just launched, or maybe launched in the time after that. I was like, I know, it's only lasting 24 hours. I'm just going to start talking into my phone like a crazy person. And let's see what that does. But 2 years after talking to my phone like a crazy person, and I'm still kind of trying to hone that and figure it out. My husband had to give me a talking to about how I speak to my audience the other day. You know,
because they're watching everything. I didn't realize Matt was watching things, but it turns out he was, and now he gives me feedback.
Yeah. Well, and just, you know, I got a gig doing what I like to do, which is talking about beauty, talking about stuff, and speaking to human beings. So, you know, yeah, there's an organic element of it, but there is a bit of okay, you know, I've got the vision board, I've got the idea, I'm going to try and do this, and also an acceptance that I'm going to try to a certain point, and if it's breaking me, or feeling unhappy or unrewarding, well, then I'm going to put that to the side and try something else.
Ooh, that's so good. Yeah, because I think we can all, the 1 year plans are lovely, but if by March you're just not feeling it, or if it just feels really hard and not in a kind of like, oh, this feels out of my comfort zone, so, and it's not happening quickly, so I'm going to sort of get cross. But if it's genuinely like, oh, actually, this is not the way that it's supposed to go, then being connected with that really helps to sort of then maneuver it.
Yeah, I think because sometimes, I mean, we both touched briefly on, giving up. And I don't, sometimes it's not giving up. It's just moving something aside that may not be working to its fullest potential. And maybe it's going to come back, but maybe it's not going to come back. But maybe the way you thought it should be or was going to be is really not how it turned out. And actually, so for example, 2.5 years ago, I started a blog because I had a really quiet moment at work, and I always get asked beauty advice, always. And because I was really wanting to share more of my kind of knowledge and expertise of using green, organic, natural, conscious beauty as a professional and the results thereof, I started the blog. And I got, all right, I'm going to give it 2 years of really dedicating, having a post every week. I was chained to my computer, chained to my phone. I was grumpy all the time because if I had to go to work, then I was, writing at night and stuff like that. And, my son was still only in nursery, and there's just wasn't enough hours in the day. And it was too much. And then by the end, you're just kind of scrabbling to put out content that's just to put it out there. And it was place fillers and not necessarily always the best of what I had to offer. So I'm like, okay, well, that's got to take a step back. And so I've put that on hold for now. And I'm not saying it's gone. I just need to maybe figure out a better way to do it, or how I'm going to do it, or get help to do it,
Yeah, definitely. And I think that just having those checks and balances as you go are so essential, because it is a lot, and it is a lot when you're raising kids or you're working late, or those moments where people say, oh, I'll just do it in the car on the way. Like, you're tired if you've been up since 4:30 in the morning. It's a full on thing. How did the move into green beauty start for you? Because it's still fairly new to the kind of the people that sort of shop at Boots, or, we're sort of only learning these things fairly. I mean, you see things like on goop.com, and, it's still like, whoa, what is this? How can there be another way?
So for me, it is literally my life. So, my kind of more personal story to the kind of green beauty world is very much that ever since I moved out of my parents' house, I've never ever used a non-eco cleaner ever. I've been I wouldn't call myself an eco warrior, but I've certainly been conscious. I was petitioning my parents to recycle better when I was 12. It's always been part, and I think that's a Canadian thing as well. It's very much part of how we live and how we are. And, but in truth, I never, my skincare at home for myself, I always bought really natural stuff. I've been using Dr. Bronner soaps since the late 90s. Like, my life in my personal world has often and always been conscious or conscientious or environmentally friendly on some level. And then leading up to my pregnancy and having my son, I started kind of realizing there was more and more here, because before that it was a bit granola, it was a bit hippie drippy, everything was a bit orangey red, and I was like, oh, I'm not interested in that. But for skincare, I've been using kind of organic skincare. I was using Dr. Hauska already sort of late 2000s, working here and stuff like that. So, in terms of skincare, that was easy. That came a long time ago.
Yes.
The actual makeup definitely happened more once I was sort of pregnant and just had my baby and was sitting at home. I kind of discovered Instagram. I discovered social media. I hadn't been on Facebook since 2010, just because I found it really mind-bogglingly weird.
Yeah,
and
me too.
I discovered these makeup artists, these professional makeup artists, Lou Dartford in particular and Candice in particular, who are now friends and associates, that I was like, whoa, wait a minute. If they're doing it, why can't I? I've just been distracted by shiny golden packaging of the big French fashion houses. Like, whoa, there is a better way. And it looks amazing. What they're doing looks amazing. And I just went face first into it and kind of don't look back. And I even have a hard time buying straight brands because once in a while I have to buy something from a straight brand because it needs to be really waterproof or last long for a client, whatever, red carpet. And then I'll just be researching the bejesus out of it and the company and making sure I'm buying the right. Like I exhaust myself.
Yeah, has it helped you have that sort of USP in terms of, has it opened new doors because of the way that you work?
Absolutely, yes and no. I mean, I'm still there's still certain doors that I'm banging up against, but like I said, I'm an ambitious girl in a lazy girl's body. But yeah, it has. But I think what I find a bit cringeworthy and makes me kind of go, ooh, is I see a lot of bandwagon jumping and sort of like, oh, this is the catchphrase of the moment, I'm going to use it.
Yes.
And it's like, well, no, I think, again, and this, I hate saying this, but it has to kind of be authentic. I think the artists that I see doing the best at it, it is a bit like me in whatever way. It's a part of their lives, being conscious about whatever. There's a great artist I look up to a lot. She's called Justine Jenkins. She does a lot of amazing, beautiful work.
Oh, I know her. I love her stuff.
Justine is amazing, but she's very passionate about cruelty-free. She's very passionate about animal sort of safeguarding and rights and so on and so forth. And it's not about USP. It's not a business term. It is part of her DNA.
Yes.
And I think that's, like, for me, that's how I feel about it. And I think for whatever it is you do in your life, and preferably it be somewhat ecological on some level, but please let it just be part of your life, part of your existence, part of what you believe in. Even if it is accounting, if you think people need to do their numbers better and you really believe it, and that's fine. It just has to be a part of your DNA. Because if you're trying to wear a mantle of what somebody else is doing, I think that's when people just sniff it on you and it just makes them feel a bit gross.
Oh, you're so right. Adrienne, who's a runner and a podcast.
Oh, love Adrienne.
I recorded, there's a podcast episode that I recorded with her yesterday, and she was saying this sense of fitness and well-being that sometimes she's like, I'm a runner, I'm not a yogi, like, let's just stick to that side of things. So even though meditation and yoga is really in and cool right now, like, I'm not going to go off piste and suddenly go, yeah, I'm just going to show you how I wear my meditation spots, because she's like, people will, yeah, like you say, will sniff it out and be like, that's not who you are.
I mean, I think it's always important to kind of learn and evolve and find new spaces to be in. Or, like, sometimes I feel a bit like, oh, I have this really cool, because I like ethical fashion. I try to work with ethical fashion brands. And I'm like, oh, does it look, because, like, I see, like, say, a food blogger or whatever talking about beauty, or I see a fashion person talking about beauty, and I get a bit like, hey, that's mine, leave it.
Don't touch.
And then I'm like, but wait, I've got this great, cool jumpsuit that's made out of organic cotton, and it's on sale, and I want to tell people about it for no other reason than I believe in that company. So I think it's okay to vary and change, again, if it fits, but honestly, if there's any iota of you that feels like it's not right, well, then don't do it. But, there are people who evolve and change, and then we evolve in terms of what we're interested in. And I'd like to think that people who liked my makeup 10 years ago because of the style of it or whatever it was are not going to think, oh, well, she moved into green beauty. Well, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's okay to change and evolve and find new stuff. But it has to be really connected to you on the inside. And all those words are really wanky. I'm really sorry. And we hear it all the time. And I hear it from other people, and sometimes I roll my eyes. It's like, yeah, I know. But it's kind of true, because every time I try to do something that I don't do necessarily well, or that is not my best creative self, it just falls flat, and it just fails miserably.
And my body tells me if it's wrong. Like, I feel like I'm really connected with my intuition and my instincts and things like that. And there's those moments when I'm in rooms and I'm like sweating or I'm mumbling over my words, and I'm like, oh, it's because I'm in the wrong room. I shouldn't be doing this, or I'm not excelling in the way that I kind of want to. I would love to talk to you about how you pitch for work, or how you open up that sense of opportunity for yourself. Because I know so many of my clients, they sometimes are in that stage of hiding something away for a long time, or it's that sense of, well, I've only been doing this for like 2 years, so like I'm not at a point where I can chart. And there's a lot of hesitation and a lot of caution around that, because I guess it's that thing that we've been talking about, it being personal. What's really helped you to kind of get yourself in the room?
I think there's so there's a couple of things to that. So last year, or probably about a year ago, or a year and a half ago, I had this idea to do this thing. And I thought, right, how am I going to do this? And there's that element of, just do it, put it together, do it. But I really didn't
put a positive mindset on
how to do that. So there was a bit of help. So first of all, I needed to write a presentation. And so, because I wanted to have in writing a clear plan to someone that I was going to pitch for, a clear idea that I'd love them to pay me money for.
Yes.
So the first idea was that I was just kind of quietly talking and following my instinct with who to talk to about it. And I spoke to fabulous Lydia Garrett, who's in food, but she has to write a lot of stuff for her job and has in the past. She's like, send it over to me. I'll give it a look-see. And I did the whole thing and I sent it to her. She's like, wow, this is really good. I've changed a couple of things about how you should word things. But, that took her all of 10 minutes. For someone like me reading something like that, it would take me hours. Mm. So asking an expert to help you and finding that expert can be hard, but sometimes they're in the most random spot and they're standing next to you. So that was one thing. The second thing I did was, so this thing I was pitching, I decided to aim small because, first of all, the person I wanted to work with was a small company and a small brand. And I knew that in my right mind and in my right head, I couldn't actually charge massive amounts of money for it. Not only could she not afford it, but I really couldn't justify it. So having no sort of very big portfolio behind me to say, look how amazingly valuable I am. Mm. So I went in on a sliding scale and just sort of said, look, let's grow together. I'm going to offer you this time. This is what you get. These are the limited resources these are the limited results I'm going to give you with the limited resources you have. But if you're happy with this, maybe in 6 months or a year, we can do this again. And next time it'll be a bit more. And next time it'll be a bit more. And that has proven to work very well because everybody's comfortable. Everybody kind of grows together. And so I had to put a team together. People were willing to get on board with that, which I did. So there was a lot of work on my part, but I think I have to say I do break it down to my folks. They never told me I couldn't do something. Yeah. And I know not everybody gets – I've had an amazing upbringing, full of confidence. I have a lot of strong women in my family. I know not everybody has that, and I know it's silly of me to stand here talking about confidence because people think that I'm very happy talking. People think, oh, she's super, super confident. I'm really not. I am a Gemini. I pretend to be confident and I act confident all the time, even if I'm not. I'm terrible. I'll be crying floods of tears on the inside, but sometimes you just have to kind of do it. But there's loads of amazing people like the Step Up Girls and stuff like that can help with that confidence thing of just reaching out to someone and being like, here's a really small pitch. So I think that my advice would be like, if your pitch is small and you want to open a new door, make sure what you are presenting to someone new is as professional looking and sounding as you can make it look. There's tons of advice online on how to write presentations. That's how I found it. I found a template of how to write a presentation and I followed that. There's tons of free information. Then get advice and start small because even that client pays you £50 or $10 or in exchanges for you say, I'm going to do this and this and this for you, and you can give me 2 pieces of clothing in return to the value of $100, which is not a lot of money. But that is a start. That's a place where you put value on what you did. You didn't give it away for free. You put a value on it, but you're willing to say, let's grow together. And I think that is key. However, I will say, don't sell yourself short. If it's a big client, find out what the going rate is. You can literally find everything on Google. Call your peers, ask them, and then charge what is appropriate for the size you are.
Yes, and just charging even something. I mean, there have been times as an actor over the years where I've done free work, and I always just work on that basis that somebody's getting paid, so it may as well be you. And also, even if it's just something that you're starting with, you're bringing so many other elements to the table as well, just of, you know, having those good people in the room. You always see those sort of behind the scenes of fashion documentaries, you know, like Alexander McQueen. I watched something on him, and he's always got kind of his people, those people who are just keeping the vibes high, and it's, you know, those are sort of really sort of key elements as well. And I love the fact that you put a price on it, even if it's small, because the next time you then go and pitch something, there's that sense in your body of like, oh, I've done this before. It will be, it's like doing yoga or something, like, oh yeah, that time where I had to go upside down, it's okay, I've done a little bit of this before.
The one thing I'll say is portfolio pieces. So I've been doing my job, I'm going to say it now, I've been doing my job for 23 years. I still do shoots as often as I can, for free, for images, for my book, for my Instagram, for myself as a makeup test out new products or whatever, because that is a crucial part of me having clients and clientele. And the only thing that has changed over the years is that I am very selective about who I do these freebie jobs with. They have to fit into a certain time, and I have to get something out of it, which is, in my case, a great image. Even if it's just one, that's, you know, and so say you're a graphic designer, you need to have portfolio pieces. So, you know, even if you design a logo for a friend or a neighbor or a family member, and that becomes a portfolio piece, you know, for portfolio work, especially in the creative industries, you need to have it. People need to see your work. People need to know visually what you can do, and that you might have to do for free.
And that sense of being able to deliver, actually come up with the finished goods. Like I say it sometimes if I do talks for actors, that you can do all that hustle all you like, but you've got to have the backing dancers to like show what you can do. Because people a lot, you know, I'm going to do this, or I'm talking about this, or I'm thinking about this. And I always talk about this friend of Matt's who I think for 11 years he's been writing his film. He's still writing this bloody film, and I'm like, but where's the film? Because it's just always, I think he enjoys the dream of it more than the actual producing of it.
Well, there's that. I mean, I've had this one idea that I have had carried for probably 11, 12 years myself, and I still haven't done much about it, or I've had spurts where I do something about it, and then sometimes just either life or other more urgent dreams take over. And either I'll get to it or I won't, or it'll morph into something else. I don't really know, but yeah, I totally get that.
Yeah, and technology will change, and it's so funny what you said about the Gemini. Matt is a Gemini as well, and sometimes he's all about the party and being out there, and then sometimes he just needs to sit in his dressing gown in his chair and have a quiet moment.
Yeah, no, for sure. For sure. I mean, sometimes in life you need to go into child's pose.
Yeah.
Just
in the middle of the street whilst your child is kicking off or something. Yeah,
that's,
for sure.
That's usually the best time.
Where would you like to be in 5 years' time?
Well, I was hoping to still be in Europe, but that doesn't look like it's happening.
Right.
That's a big one. I mean, well, a lot of places. I suppose I have a very clear mind of what I'd like the makeup I would like to be doing. I'm very focused on a certain aspect of my makeup, which I'd really like to do more of, and would enjoy doing that. I would like to have a shed at the bottom of the garden that is my office and studio and atelier, so I can take all my pictures and makeup and stick everything on the walls and put it all where I am and not have to hide it away. I would like to have be seen as a go-to person for perhaps, you know, advice or panel speaking, or, you know, quotes or, you know, that kind of person. Like to be considered in my niche, in my world, a bit of a beauty expert, for lack of a better term. Definitely not a beauty guru, because I think that word is so absurd. Anyways. And also, I would like to be balanced and happy. I'd like to be fit. I'd like the cellulite to get off the front of my thighs and get back to yoga. I have no problem with cellulite. It's just that I'd like to get back to yoga, which I haven't for 6 months. So that's where I'd like to be doing. And I'd like to feel that there's still some areas of my life to strive for, because I think I'm a striver by nature, but I'd like to feel balanced and happy and have a kid who is balanced and happy and doesn't hate me. These are goals.
Oh my God, I'm dreading that day where he says, no, we don't hug anymore, or like, Mom, can you just not do that? I mean, I had a little taste of it the other day when I was raving in the kitchen, and he just looks at me like, no, this is not all right, Mum.
Yeah.
But I feel it's all to come. But if people want to come and find you and see what you're up to, where shall they go?
Please visit me on Instagram. That is literally the best place to find me and my stories. So I am at Beauty by Tahira UK, because Beauty by Tahira was already taken up. So that's the best place to find me. My blog is beautybytahira.com. If you'd like to see my portfolio and see my work, that's tahiramakeup.com. And I do have Twitter, and I kind of am a little bit on Facebook, but you can find me there. On Twitter, I tend to actually more repost really interesting stuff I'm reading from other people in my sort of green beauty world. So there'll be a lot of links to other people's articles where you can find out a lot of other products and stuff I love. And yeah.
Amazing.
Come see me on videos.
Yeah, and I absolutely love your stories, and I do certainly think since I'm pale and ginger, and was, as soon as I came into the world, the midwife was saying to my mum, who is very olive skin, like, you've got to watch this kid's skin because she'll burn just by looking at the sun. So I'm very kind of aware of that, and I love the fact that now there is stuff that and the way that you present it as well, it just gives me so many ideas, because my skin has really changed since becoming a mum, and I just have to, I can see 40, so like things are changing, and you got to roll with it.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much. That's so kind. Well, I do, and I really do love sharing my knowledge. I really don't. I'm not one of those people that holds it and keeps secret. Like, if you want to know, I'll tell you. So send me a message, ask me a question, or sometimes once in a while, if I know I've got a quieter week, maybe I'll do it today. I'll say, that new sticker on Instagram stories where I say, ask me anything about green beauty. Yeah, absolutely. I'm always, and just, if I do delay in getting back to you, please bear with me and feel free to send me a message of some kind. Because sometimes I do miss stuff. But yeah, no, I love sharing with people, and everybody's like, we want to see more of this and more of that. And so I'm trying. Give me a month to get the kids settled into school, and then hopefully I'll have a bit more time to resume my career as a
Definitely, and that is an important job as well. And I'm learning all the time with my kid. It's like, these things take time. They're not something you can just quickly tick off the list. It's a holistic learning working process for sure. But thank you so much. I've learned so much today, and I love what you said. Just about how you navigate things, and I know so many people will find it useful. So thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure, and thank you so much. And I wish everybody a wonderful, wonderful day. And thank you for having me, Nick.
Thanks so much for listening to today's episode. If you haven't already, feel free to rate, review, and subscribe for all the brand new episodes. If you want to go deeper with my support, check out my freebies house and unlock the rooms you choose. NickyRaby.com/freebies house. I also have workshops, programs, and one-on-one bespoke offerings. For prices, availability, or just to have a chat with me, go to NickyRaby.com. Thank you, as always, for spending some time with me and my guests, and I'll see you next time.